Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this month's forecast using Chinese astrology and also trend research on the global trends. So December month is really a month of surprise and fear for this upcoming month because for the past month, we already know that things are not optimistic, that bound to be stagflation, leading to recession, and maybe could lead to economic meltdown. Even the weather is also not cooperating. We have forecasted a severe winter, and indeed the severe winter is also happening now. And okay, so the top agenda for today is introduction, disclaimer. As usual, I will do a disclaimer, a brief recap of last month's forecast, the influence of the 5 element energies through the Bazi chart or the birth chart of the month on December 2022, and also PC section on the geopolitical, financial, global trends outlook. Okay, to check if there's any resemblance on what is forecasted as well. And finally, we will have a summary. And the disclaimer here is that this content is purely based on our study related to the 5 elements in the Chinese astrology, which you can use as a guideline. And also in PC's research, where he have combed through many informations and filtered through to ensure that it is as accurate as possible. However, you must exercise the caution in investment, especially in such volatile situation, and do your own research on the company that you want to invest. We will not give any stock advice, such as specifically what company to invest. However, from our talk, you can also get some tips or some guidance on which sector that you should look at that will have a potential growth or a value investment in the future. Okay, a recap on November month that we have already said that the inflation will continue in the West. Climate has changed to extreme. That means extreme cold, extreme sub-freezing temperature from east to west, even in US. And then precious metal does receive some attention in the month of November. This is when you need to be careful with your car. Later I will show you why you need to be careful with your car. So the US NMC, multinational corporation, even Amazon, Intel, and all these things are freezing headcounts. And also the CB, central bank digital currency, is also gaining some traction here. So I also forecast from the hexagram of the month. Here is new alliance in G20, new alliance will form. And I think in the month of November, there is G20 summit right in Indonesia, PC. So yeah, potentially there are new alliances that is going to be formed. As I say, I do not know whether you all know what is this or not.
Yeah, catalytic converter.
Yeah, catalytic converter. And you know what is it made of mostly?
Anyone want to guess? We have for those who have followed IFS, we actually talk about it. It's actually used to be palladium, but I think because of the high price of palladium, it's moving towards platinum.
Yeah, even platinum now is also very expensive. So you have to be careful with your car. I think the rampage, the car theft on catalytic converter is very rampage in US now. Okay, what happened is that almost every few thousands of people are losing their catalytic converter daily, and this catalytic converter could end up in the supply chain again. Okay.
Yeah, I think especially right now, there's report that there's shortage of palladium and platinum as well in the market.
Yes. So all this attention comes up because of the syn metal. I already stated the month of November is syn metal. This is where the precious metal comes up. Okay. So Let's go through the month December year 2022's energy here. So the year pillar, again, it never changed because this year is still a raining or water tiger year. And then the month pillar will always change. Actually, for Chinese astrology, the month does not comes in on first day of the month. It comes in the 1 week later. It was 7, 8, third, fourth, between all this week, between that region. Okay, so this one, the energy will start to kick in, I think, around December 7, if I'm not mistaken. December 7 or 8, plus minus 1 day. So you can see water. This one also already water all over. Means there are big water coming in. The chart is very cold, with extreme cold weather will continue on. Okay, and then the dominant energy is water. Logistic will also get attention, but logistic getting attention in a way that I think is stagnant now compared to last few months. And also, however, tourism might fare a little bit better and financial system because the water of this year, the chart here represents financial in the useful god of the chart of the Bazi chart. So the financial system will also have a drastic change once it comes up in the month. There will be even more attention towards all the financial market, the financial system, the money, okay, the cash flow. The month December hexagram is thunder. This is a thunder hexagram. So when you see thunder, what do you expect? It's a double thunder. This is one thunder here because hexagram consists of two trigrams. They are all equal here and here, top and bottom. So it's actually a double thunder. That means I foresee that there could be events that could shock the world. Okay, and also forecast maybe because thunder is also like earthquake. It could be earthquake also, or tsunami happening because big water. Okay, and demonstration could turn violent, and people's sentiment overall is actually fear now. Okay. So yeah, PC, I will pass it to you for the November's trend. You want to share your own deck or you just want to talk from here?
I share from my side.
Okay, can.
Yeah.
Okay, then I will stop sharing.
So just now, Evelyn touched on a few things about the weather and extreme cold. In fact, this morning I saw a report that the North Atlantic draft is coming down, and it will actually cause extreme temperature along the east coast of the US all the way down to Louisiana and Florida. In fact, some of the southern states can even have near freezing temperature. So of course, on the northeastern side, there's going to be sub-freezing temperature, and this is already causing the heating gas as well as heating oil price escalating. And to make it worse, there's a shortage of diesel right now in the Western Hemisphere. Because they decided to sanction Russian oil, Russian distillates. So there's just not enough of all this. So in the shortage of gas for heating, shortage of diesel for heating oil. So that is why it's going to be quite a big issue, especially right now. There's an explosion of homeless people, in quite a lot of major cities in the US. So this is going to be a humanity crisis. Okay, and if let's say those people are not well protected, then there could be some escalation of death and so forth. Okay, so the other thing is that the financial system is very interesting. We'll talk more about it afterwards. But going back to what actually happened, now I actually was saying that US Q3 GDP could be in negative territory, but that was based on the probability that a lot of the other sectors of the economy were weakening. But of course, what happened was that oil price remained pretty high. So what happened was the US Q3 GDP rose 2.6%. And most of it was due to the surging export of oil and gas to Europe. Like single-handedly, oil and gas actually represent 2.7% of the GDP, and it was brought down lower only through other weakness in other sectors. So of course, I believe that the US is also underreporting the inflation because for obvious reason, it was actually before the midterms election, which they hope to project a better rationale for the people to continue to vote the Democratic Party. So obviously, there's a lot of manipulation with the inflation. If you truly want to have a clear idea of how is the inflation is, you can actually go to the shadowstats.com, which continue to show that US is facing massive inflation above 10% by using the same metrics of 1980s to 1990s. Okay, since then the US, the Bureau of Labor Statistics have changed all the measurement of inflation to actually keep inflation low. And the other thing is, of course, the US continue to release its oil from its own SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and continue to sell it to Europe. So that is why after the oil price continue to remain high, the Biden admin say that they will continue to release oil from the SPR. So if you look at the chart here, the SPR, since the start of 1st of January, is really down 33.95%. And that is one of its lowest in history. And if, let's say, they continue to release all the way until next year, it will actually drop further than 50%, more than 50%. And if, let's say, that happens, now imagine a situation where the US government then say that we need to refill the SPR. So can you imagine that after they have reduced the oil, if you look at it, during the peak is more than 600 million barrels of oil. Imagine that if it dropped another 50% to 300, they need to refill 300 million barrels of oil. That is like a very, very huge demand for oil. And if, let's say, they start refilling it, then that would cause a major spike in the price of oil. And that could mean even worse inflation ahead. Of course, the US can choose not to refill, okay, in which case then, when it starts to get empty, how long can they try to suppress the price of oil? So right now, the US is saying that, and together with Europe, we want to put a price cap on the price of oil, because any countries that buy oil from Russia will not get insurance for the shipment from which the Western countries are the major players, like companies like Lloyd's Insurance and so forth. But then there are already a lot of emerging insurance companies from India, from Middle East, as well as from China, that say it's quite all right, we'll insure the oil for you. So that's why the price cap on oil is not going to happen. And worse still, right now, they want to extend the price cap to gas as well. So I think that at some point in time, as one of my one of my favorite economists that I often listen to is Peter Schiff. He was saying that the current inflation that is below 8% is just the eye in the inflation hurricane, which means that right now is looks like a bit stable, but the moment when they start refueling, okay, they start to refill the SPR, then we will see a spike in the in inflation, okay? And if let's say they put a price cap on Russian oil and gas, it's also going to cause major inflation as well. Because what will happen then is that since no one is going to insure, okay, there won't be enough ships, okay, to ship the oil around the world. So what happens is that then insurance costs will go up, the price of oil tankers will go up, the price of LNG shipping will go up because there's not enough ships because they do not have the insurance to ship. So that will then cause inflation on the logistics side. And you know, for those who actually follow me on IFS, I actually mentioned that some weeks ago, you know, to look into the LNG shipping, and some of them have already gone up more than 10%. Okay, so in terms of retail sales, well, it unexpectedly rose 1.3%. Okay, but why the sudden rise? Because it's driven by tax relief from California. So California, what they did was, you know, issue free money to the people. And that was why retail sales unexpectedly rose in October. I was saying that retail sales will actually go down because consumers are facing inflation, high mortgage payment, as well as high service interest on household debt, that is ex-mortgage. So I was thinking that the consumers will actually be very severely impacted, but it was all offset by California issuing free checks to the citizens, okay? So that retail sales actually went up 1.3% in October. And I think that, yeah.
Okay, sorry. When you say about government issuing free money, means that those cash do not have value anymore. That means actually in the next 20 years, I don't think cash will be the king. The real assets and commodities is the real value that we should hold.
Yeah, so that is why you know, when you issue so much money, it's just incur more debt. And that's why, you know, if for those who understand inflation, now I have often said that inflation is an expression of the expansion of money supply. And right now, the US government continue to spend money. It is not cutting spending. So that means there's more money now, okay, than previously. Because now you just imagine the Fed is undergoing QT. And so far they have removed close to about 400 billion from the Fed balance sheet, 400 billion. But the US government will need in the next 6 months, 1.3 trillion. So how is that going to stop inflation? Because the money supply continue to expand. And the US government cannot cut spending because there are too many military bases to sustain. And if I followed my post, whether in LinkedIn or in on my Facebook, I've shown a chart that US interest payment on debt has gone up to a record high, you know, here. So that is why, you know, the US will continue to pay through the nose as long as the Fed keep hiking interest rate. So the Fed is like trying to, you know, I often say, when it comes to banks right now, just like Credit Suisse or the Federal Reserve for that matter, it's like a chicken clay pot rice seller. Okay, clay pot chicken rice seller that does not have enough covers. Okay, so at any time, you know, somewhere something might get burnt. But where we got right is actually, you know, there's more social unrest and strikes across Europe, and this will continue. In fact, the UK NHS, the National Health Services, is one of the biggest unionized government agency. They are going on strike in December. So can you imagine if they go on strike, what will happen to the healthcare of the people? You know, so, and in October, people in France were demonstrating, calling on Macron to leave NATO as well as EU. So it's just going to worsen from here, especially Europe too is forecast to have a colder winter beginning from December all the way to January. And of course, where we got right was gold and silver gained ground in November, moving up. Like gold, it moved up from the $1,600 per ounce, it went up to 1700s. Silver from the sub 20 went up to above 20 per ounce. So of course, platinum and palladium were also seeing their price. Like platinum was below 1,000, right now it's above 1,000. Palladium was below 2,000, right now it's back to above 2,000. So then, of course, we also got it correct in stating that the US housing continued to worsen. The NAHB index fell to 33 in November versus 38 in October. So here you can see that home buyer confidence, is dropping. Then the home builder confidence, there's more space to drop if they were to match the home buyer confidence. Okay, so at 33 is really a deep contraction, because if we want to calculate what actually is an expansion, is when it's 50 or above. So if let's say it's at 33, it means in deep contraction. So when there's deep contraction, then that means that there's going to be the home builders, those in the construction industry, are less optimistic of the market, and therefore they would actually reduce their inventories. So what happened was, that's what they did. And in November, there was a spike on new home sales after the home builders came in and offer a lot of attractive packages, okay, to entice people to buy off their inventories. And true enough, in November, there was actually an increase in existing home sales, okay, but it won't last long because they are not going to add more inventories. So what will happen is that there's going to be imbalances in the US housing market. Okay, some parts there'll be huge demand, okay, for existing homes, okay, because there's no more new homes, and that's why the price can remain a bit longer on the loftier side. So major companies are defaulting on their debt. For example, we have FTX filing for bankruptcy and creating a financial turmoil that is still reverberating across the cryptocurrency sphere. And not only that, the major investors of FTX were actually composite companies like the SoftBank, okay, Temasek Holdings in Singapore. And this morning I read the news that they were defending the 275 million write-off. Okay, then there's also
for the first time, because
yeah,
Temasek is known for a money-making machine also.
Yeah. But that was but during the global financial crisis, they actually write off even more. I think it was total about 400 billion, if I 400 million. Okay. Because of the write-off in the investment in all the banks, all the major banks during the global financial crisis. Citibank actually dropped 90%. So that was one of the major holdings. And I think the other one is Secura Capital, and then there's also the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund. Okay, then you have BlackRock. So all these have not actually costed in their exposure, and that is why it's going to create a major reverberation across the financial market. And the other thing, of course, is later on I'll show is Credit Suisse, okay, which is also another potential lemon candidate. So all this will lead to major devastating losses to a lot of the financial institutions, because this is money that is gone. Okay, so let's look at the December economic and financial implications. Okay, here we can see that US housing continues to weaken. Okay, and this is a very interesting chart from yardani.com. So it shows the mortgage applications here. new purchase and single family home sales, okay, against the mortgage application. You can see here as at October, okay, it has dropped to here. And because of the weakness in the housing index, yeah, likelihood in November it has already dropped. Okay, this chart is just not updated you know, very on a monthly basis, but it shows that even in October it has fallen to the mortgage application. Yeah, it has fallen to the level that is slightly below the 2008 to 2000 the 2007 to 2008 financial crisis. Okay, if you look at here, 2007 2008, this is the bottom. Okay, before the housing crisis actually implode. Okay, then you know, further drop in the mortgage application. But right now, even in October, it has fallen below. And based on another figure that I actually found out, was that mortgage application actually have dropped to I think record low, if I'm not wrong, at about 42%. Okay, year on year. So this is just not the lowest yet. It actually is much lower than that. So that's why when mortgage applications drop, that means that consumer has very little confidence in wanting to buy new houses or existing houses, and therefore it will create a potential crisis in the housing market. Now, if you look at the refinancing index, okay, now this is in November. Hold on. Yeah, the mortgage application is actually in November, but the housing is actually in October in red. And if you look at it, the mortgage refinancing index, it has dropped below the 2008. So that means people are not willing to refinance their assets anymore, because probably they have already done so, and at a much lower interest rate, and therefore they do not want to refinance based on a much higher interest rate. So when there's, you know, in US, what they like to do is that they like to withdraw the equity from their property. For example, if the property price have increased, they will actually refinance, they get more money. Either they want to reinvest again, okay, or they want to buy another property, you know, so that they use that refinancing, okay, to accumulate wealth. But when the refinancing have dropped below that of 2008, okay, you know that this crisis is going to play out in the coming months. Okay, so all this is showing that mortgage application, whether in new purchases or refinancing, have actually collapsed, okay, below that of 2007 and 2008 housing crisis level, and that is in November. So moving forward, with the NAHB index falling to 33, it's just going to get worse. It's just that right now everyone is is smoking a lot of hopium, in a sense that they hope to see that the Fed will pivot, okay, which I think the Fed will eventually do, because the debt repayment for the US government is just too high. You know, China and Japan have just dumped more US treasuries in the market. Okay, I think Japan has dumped more than 200 billion, and China, you know, has dumped more than almost 400 billion from their peak. You know, at one time China was holding 1.3 trillion in US treasury. Based on the latest figure, which is 2 months old, is only at 933 billion. So that means that China is also trying to sell off its US treasury. Probably, you know, some of it is used to defend the yuan, okay, or the renminbi. You know, portion of it also goes into the investment of gold and other commodities to actually diversify. Okay, so that goes to show that the Fed is actually in a very tough place right now because of the tightening in credit, the high interest rate, the housing crisis will emerge eventually. So then we look at the consumer. Okay, they continue to rely on debt to sustain their livelihood. This is from the New York Fed. Okay, you can see that for the mortgage, this is actually housing debt. Okay, it's at 11.99 trillion, which is a new record high. Okay, then the non-housing debt, okay, also a new record high. So the other thing is that inflation remains high, resulting in real wages falling for 9 consecutive months, while interest payment on debt and mortgage have risen. So real wages have grown at a much slower pace than inflation. So what the people who are suppressed do, they rely on debt to continue to sustain their livelihood. Not say lifestyle, just livelihood, because the price of food and energy has gone up very high. Okay, so right now they not only have to face inflation on food and energy, but they also have to pay higher debt, higher interest payment on mortgage, as well as their credit card debt or auto loan debt or student debt. Okay, of course Biden said that he's going to forgive student debt, but so far it's being delayed and delayed again. So then the consumer would have to make a very difficult choice: either pay down the debt and starve, or increase debt to sustain livelihood. So knowing how consumer behavior is, they would not want to starve. Even if they pay down the debt, okay, they do not want to starve. And therefore, while they pay down their debt on one side, they will actually accumulate debt on the other side. Okay, for example, they may, they pay off the housing debt, but then their consumer debt, continue to increase.
Yeah, okay, because actually this is human behavior. In Maslow's this one hierarchy of survival, food is the most important thing. It's the whole this one foundation of a human survival.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot of tough choices, and that's why I think the consumer are already reached the limit. Unless certain state government suddenly becomes very anxious, then they do something like what California did, issue free checks again. So when you issue free checks, it's going to expand the money supply. When you expand money supply, it's going to cause inflation. So it's like it becomes a vicious cycle. Yeah, it keeps on building and building and building until you cannot build anymore, and it just implode on itself. Yeah. So the other thing is that the consumer spending. I just read a report this morning that Black Friday, a lot of the shopping malls do not see the kind of crowd that they've seen in previous years. There were no people queuing to buy things. Okay, so of course then the news media was saying, okay, let's wait for Cyber Monday. Okay, maybe Cyber Monday we see a very huge uptick, okay, in terms of spending. Well, we will know later over the next few days. Now, another thing is that one analyst, Octavia Costa, which I follow his Twitter also, although he is very pro commodities, okay. So when there's you just need to analyze his reasoning to see whether it's true or not. But this is a very interesting chart which he shared. Okay, so this chart shows that recession is imminent. Okay, in the US, because the US Treasury curve is now more than 70% inverted, and in the last 50 years of history, every time it has surpassed this threshold, a recession followed. So he say we are now at 76% with the Fed still hiking rates and doing QT here. Okay, so right now it's already here, and over the past recessions, it has accurately predicted a recession. Now, there's also another 2 charts which I didn't include here, but I think for the members of IFS, they would have already received it. Is the yield inversion, okay, of the 10-year and 1-year Treasury. Now, the inversion of the 10-year and 1-year treasury is touted by another economist called George Gaiman, is 99% accurate. And right now, it's showing that every time it inverts into negative, there's going to be an imminent recession. So I think the recession is going to be much worse because the world has never been so highly indebted before. The worst recession, we don't classify 2020 as a economic induced recession, okay? But if we want, because it is a pandemic induced recession, but if we want to look at an economic induced recession, either through speculation or through the central bank's policy or government policy, then let's look back at 2008, okay? So at 2008, it's just here, but right now it's much higher. And between 2008 and now, okay, global debt has actually more than doubled. So that means the unwinding of this debt is going to create a tsunami, okay? Not say ripples. It's going to create a tsunami across multiple
maybe the tsunami I predicted could be this tsunami.
yeah. Okay, so that is why you know, it is going to be very, very bad if, let's say, the Fed overshoots, and likelihood that they have already overshoot, okay, in hiking interest rate, because it has, you know, all the while it's been on 25 basis points, but they have hiked 3 times 75 basis points. So that is going to hurt a lot of people. Now, the other thing is that another financial change, okay, why just now Evelyn mentioned about financial change, is that the Fed has started a CBDC trial to run for a period of 12 weeks. So they are going to gauge how is it going to unfold, okay, whether there's everything will run very neatly, okay, and very accurately for them to actually go on to the next stage. Now, incidentally, this morning I read that Japan central bank will actually launch their own CBDC next year as well. Okay, we talk a lot of CBDC in our book actually. So then the other thing is that in certain parts of Europe, the supermarkets are actually printing the amount of carbon credit consumed on the receipt. Now, this is unheard of, okay? So that's why it gets people very nervous, because what if they start a CBDC and then it's tied to your carbon footprint? I think I've mentioned this in previous previous month's talk, if I'm not wrong. So what happened is that if you buy too much goods that actually create more carbon footprint, then because it's tied to your CBDC, imagine you go to the supermarket, you like to eat fried stuff. Then you go to the supermarket, you can't buy any oil because you have reached the limit of your carbon footprint. So how will you actually get that carbon footprint? Of course, they already have a solution. It's the carbon exchange. So it's like it's creating an entire new exchange, okay, to allow consumer to buy the carbon credit to continue their consumption.
It's like playing a video game. It's like playing those video games. You buy credits to buy weapons, to buy all these things when you have reached your limit to go to the next level.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just like a movie that I watched last time, quite more than a decade ago. It's called Out of Time. It's about people, because of the population growing up, people would actually have a limit to their livelihood, okay, which means after you know, they are issued time credits. So if they don't increase their credits, which means up to a certain point in time, they will just die because there's no more life credits. So what they do is a group of people then decided to rob the life credits bank, okay, to extend their life. So it's very, you know, that like what is shown in movies last time, you know, we are now seeing it unfolding, okay. and it's very it's going to hurt the normal consumer more, because if let's say you do not have that, if let's say everyone start to buy carbon credits, so then the carbon credits keep on increasing in price, what will the people that have insufficient funds then to increase their carbon credit? Would it mean that they would actually die of starvation? Okay, so that is what got people very worried. And with right now, a lot of central banks are going to issue CBDC. Okay, and the other thing is that the fallout from the FTX has now spread to another crypto lender called Genesis Global Capital, and the company suspended customer redemptions on 17 November. So there's a lot of talk right now that a number of the stable coins exchange are very vulnerable. Now, I actually read something about the Ethereum founder. He actually said that by right, cryptocurrencies should be freely exchanged, in an exchange that you can do swaps immediately. But because a lot of greedy people were out there and they created their own stable coins. So in a crypto exchange, you need to convert your cryptocurrency into a stable coin so that you can use that stable coin to buy another cryptocurrency. So in that manner, they actually, make more money than just having an exchange where they take a small percentage of the, as an exchange fee. So right now, you have conversion fee from cryptocurrency to stable coin. And then you have the transaction fee conversion from stable coin to another cryptocurrency. So that means instead of a normal exchange that makes a transaction fee on both sides of buy and sell, right now there's 4 transaction fees included. So that's why every exchange wants to have their own stable coin. So when the price of cryptocurrency falls, people want to withdraw. Okay, so and they say that their stable coin is backed by cryptocurrencies. So when cryptocurrency prices fall, there's even more people want to convert their stable coin into cryptocurrencies and withdraw. So that's why it caused, a systemic risk across all the exchanges that will have stable coin. And it's not going to be the end of the nightmare, because I think one would lead to the other, and it's going to be pretty challenging. So that's why some crypto analysts, like I think if I got his name wrong, then I'm sorry. Gareth Holloway, I think. I can't recall his name, but he actually said that the targeted price for Bitcoin in this year could range from less than 10K to about 12K. So before it start to stabilize. So these are the things that that are happening on the crypto side. Now, of course, the big question is who's next? Okay, and I think some people are saying that those that is backed by the Tether coin could be vulnerable. Okay, even though they say that their Tether coin is backed by their US dollars, but some people are already saying that it does not have that sufficient of US dollar to support the amount of Tether in the market. So let's see. Okay, so then the contagion from the FTX could also prompt government to implement sweeping changes with regard to crypto exchanges. So that is why, because of greed, it allows government to come in to, come up with even more regulations. So when exchanges becomes regulated, that means that the freedom, okay, to transact has, will disappear. And that really prompts the challenge to those people who argue, that cryptocurrencies are a decentralized system. I think eventually, if more CBDCs are being implemented, there'll still be demand for crypto currencies, but perhaps the way that the crypto exchanges would evolve. I wouldn't be surprised if one day, okay, people will say that, hey, the Bitcoin right now is backed with commodities. It could happen, okay? Because you have an anchor of hard assets, so we do not know. But definitely for sure, I think the blockchain technology is here to stay, and cryptocurrencies will continue to evolve. And the other thing that why I think that financial crisis is pretty near is because of the Wall Street bankers who loaned Musk 13 billion to acquire Twitter are seeking to unload the loan at 60 cents to the dollar. So if you are a banker, you know, you have lent Musk this amount, you're willing to take a 40% haircut. That means that they are very worried, okay, that credit has tightened and risk of default has risen. Because it does not mean that Twitter is unstable, although Musk say that it can go bankrupt anytime, okay. But Musk is actually, you know, some people say he's a genius, but some people say he's a charlatan, okay, someone who talk big, okay, to push things to his liking. So then the other thing is that there are other tech companies that all through the years have relied on funding, yeah, from the external market to continue their operations. Right now, the funding is drying up because they are already, you know, when they get their funding is already junk bond status, and right now junk bond yield has actually escalated. So they have lack of funding, and that's why all the unicorns that people have talked about are suddenly becoming zombies. Okay. Oh, so dear. If that happens, then the risk to the banks are very, very high. So it could be that they see that risk, but they do not want to have another risk, and that's why they are quickly unloading, you know, that 13 billion, because it's not only the banks that has exposure on all the zombie companies, but also the housing market. Okay. So another market that is seeing record high delinquency is actually in the auto loan market. Because at some point in time, a few months back, the price of used vehicles and the price of new vehicles actually skyrocketed. So people actually borrowed money, okay, to fund their purchase. But right now, you know, with mortgage payment going up, with inflation going up, real wages coming down, you know, delinquency rate even for auto loan is, you know, has risen to a new record. So that is what worries the bank. And that 13 billion sitting on the balance sheet is a major worry. So let's look at the EU. Now the EU GDP growth rose 0.2%. Again, I think is largely, you know, trying to squeeze out something to show, okay? But it is its lowest since Q2 of 2021. Many economists expect Q4 GDP to enter into negative territory. EU and UK inflation hit 10.6% and 11.1% year-on-year respectively. Wide demonstration and strikes across Europe. As I mentioned, NHS is going to announce strike in December. And another thing, in the US, the National Railroad Association Union, they are going to announce a strike soon. If let's say they announce a strike, that means that there's no freight, there's no goods traveling between the east and the west. Okay, and that means shortage of goods, and because of shortage of foods, shortage of goods, okay, there'll be higher inflation. So when you have this kind of strikes here, you will have higher inflation, okay, because, you know, there's shortage of everything. So then the fear of inflation and a cold winter have gripped Europe. And this is made worse by the EU warning that there could be electricity disruptions during the winter months, all the way until next year. And the EU and US is still insisting to put a price cap on Russian oil and gas, and this will only escalate the price of oil and gas higher. And Russia will retaliate by cutting its production further, because there's no demand, I will just cut my oil production. And OPEC already announced a 2 million barrels of oil per day cut in October. So if let's say Russia withdraw another 1 or 2 million. Few months back, I mentioned that if Goldman Sachs anticipated, if Russia removed 3 million barrels of oil from the market, it will push oil up to $150 per barrel. And if let's say Russia removed 5 million barrels from the market, it will push oil to $300 per barrel. That was Goldman Sachs warning a few months ago. If you have followed this channel, then you will know what I mean. Yeah. So will Russia retaliate or not? So Russia can just retaliate, because if let's say the price move up even higher, Russia will still make the money because it's still selling to China, India, the rest of the world at a discount. Okay. So there's also going to be a global shortage of oil tankers and LNG ships because of the withdrawal of insurance. Okay. If people buy Russian oil and gas, but Russia is already selling it across the world. So if let's say those oil tankers and LNG ships do not get that insurance, then those that have will see their price, going up. And even those that trade within the Western, the collective West, those prices will also go up because there is not enough. Okay. So that means that additional shipments will be delayed and at a higher cost. So what happens when the EU needs to replenish its stocks after the winter months? So because the EU is well stocked for its gas up to 90%, very confidently they are already saying we can survive. But what will happen after the winter months? You will have, the summer months where there's a lot of demand for cooling. Okay, then after the winter months, there's a lot of demand for industries. So what will happen then? Okay, so that's why I think it has all been very, very short term, thinking that if they do all this, Russia would capitulate and then sign an agreement with them. Okay, but it's not going to happen because Russia say they must and will win the war in Ukraine. And Russia will play the long game to not only to defeat Ukraine, but they are going to make Ukraine become landlocked, which means that they will move all the way towards the west, taking Odessa all the way, meeting with Transnistria, which is majority of Russian-speaking people as well. So when Ukraine becomes landlocked, all the money that the US and EU poured into Ukraine will be gone because there's no port to export to, and the only way will be to the railway network through Poland and all those, which will actually increase the cost of logistics. So everything that is being done to spite Russia is actually hurting the citizens of, Europe themselves. And that's why you see there's a lot of people now calling on to the EU, okay, to stop sanctioning Russia, and allow the people to have heating oil, reduce the inflation. So it's spreading across Europe. And the other thing is that Germany is fast deindustrialization. BASF, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes are moving production to China. So, and Dutch government is adamant that ASML will not sacrifice its business relations with China, and this could actually spur Japan and Hong Kong to follow the same path. So right now, they are telling, in fact, right now, European leaders are actually criticizing the US because you imagine that the US economy in Q3 is 2.6, Europe is just 0.2. So they are saying that, they are forcing Europe to sustain the losses, but US is benefiting them. So even European leaders now are condemning the US path, okay, in continuing the war. So there's also animosity that emerges between Italy and France and between the EU Parliament and Germany after Scholz's visit to China. So these are signs of a potential disunity within Europe. So Italy have criticized France, okay, because France have criticized Italy for not allowing immigrants to go in, okay. So Scholz actually single-handedly went to China to talk about, how to help German industry and so forth, okay. and the European Parliament are unhappy. But Germany, can you imagine Germany used to be the powerhouse of the whole European industry? Right now, it's fast deindustrialization. It's fast deindustrializing, okay, because they can't keep up with the energy costs. In fact, a lot of smelters in Europe have already shuttered, okay. Now, let's talk about China. China has a combination of both bad and good, I think. Now, China value added industrial output, okay, went up 5% year on year in October. Urban unemployment rate stood at 5.5%, pretty stable. Inflation in China is also very stable at about 2.5%. Fixed asset investment rose 5.8% in October. Now, this is based on the latest data that was released in November, yeah, with investment in infrastructure and manufacturing gaining 8.7% and 9.7% respectively. Retail sales edged up 0.6%. Now, this is where the major damage is, okay? China, through their dual circulation, wanted to spur up retail sales, but you see it's only 0.6%. Online retail sales climbed 4.9%. If, let's say, online retail sales did not climb, then retail sales could be in negative territory. So value-added output of major high-tech manufacturing firms increased 8.7%, while investment in high-tech industry surged 23.6%. Now, a few months ago, we mentioned that China would actually look at increasing its infrastructure spending as well as its high-tech industry spending. And, you know, this has continued to show resilience and growth. Now, China consumption continues to be affected by lockdowns and will likely be weak in December owing to a surge in COVID-19 cases. So fear of extended lockdown will affect consumption, and there's some eruptions of protests in some cities. Okay, I think the people are also very frustrated because just, you know, it's like an ongoing wave that hits the people over and over again. You know, after the COVID cases comes down, then they allow freedom, and then, you know, it's back to lockdown. So this is making the people very tired, okay, and sometimes even very angry because it affects the businesses. So this policy have both its merits and demerits. Now, merits because some people were saying the global death in terms of percentage is about slightly 1%. If we apply that to China with 1.4 billion people, that could mean a death potential of, you know, 14 million. And that is the fear within the government, because if it goes to a few million people, then that is wasted human resource. And China, facing declining childbirth, see human resource as the foremost important asset, you know. But you can see that how it has evolved, okay, in actually disrupting the businesses. You know, when you see retail sales falling 0.6%, and you know that in China, entrepreneurship is very strong. People are selling goods and all those to the public and all those. Now, imagine when retail sales is down so much, you know, don't talk about the online, talk about the selling of physical goods, you know, from shop to the people, okay? Then they are being hit as well, okay? So on top of that, they also have a declining real estate market, and it has continued to decline. And I think next year is going to be decline as well. So residential property will continue to be weak until it reaches a certain stability, okay, but will be offset slightly by investment in infrastructure and manufacturing, especially when offshoring from Germany is coming into China. So there'll be a lot of investment in industrial asset, but residential asset will continue to be weak for sure, okay. So we talk about shortage of metals. So let's look at the COMEX. Now, the COMEX is actually in the US, and it's actually a paper derivative exchange where people buy into, buy the futures, gold and silver. But very interestingly, okay, Now, in February of 2021, the Wall Street Silver Reddit site actually came up with a call to get all consumers to buy silver, because silver is the Achilles heel of the bullion banks that manages the COMEX as well as the LBMA. So they see that silver price is being manipulated. It is manipulated, okay, because silver is the only metal that have not seen its 1980 record being broken. All other metals have seen that, okay? So silver is being manipulated because it is the Achilles heel of the bullion banks. They do not want to see silver price go up, okay? So then they decided that, hey, let's encourage everyone around the world to buy silver. So ever since the silver squeeze started in February 2021, okay, where the gold is concerned, okay, 42% have left the registered. Now, registered means that good for delivery. Eligible has come down by 35.7%. Now, eligible could also mean gold that are held by the ETFs. It could also mean gold held by other investors. So they are actually moving other people's gold, okay, to the registered to deliver. So that's why even eligible has come down. Okay, for example, that's why if you want to buy ETFs, gold ETFs, okay, you cannot exchange the ETF for physical gold. So all these ETFs, okay, they say they are backed by gold, but you see the major one like GLD, they specifically mentioned that they cannot guarantee it's 100% backed by gold. And the same with the silver ETF, SLV. Why? Because they allow people to short the stock. So if you ever want to buy gold or silver ETF, I would suggest that you consider the Sprott Physical Silver ETF or the Sprott Physical Gold ETF. They do not allow any shorting because the ETF is 100% backed by physical gold and silver. Okay, so that means that they do not allow people to short the stock. So, or to have some derivatives, okay, like GLD and SLV, they also have options. So that means that they can manipulate. When people use the options to suppress the price of the stock, then it gives the idea that silver price is being forced down. But ever since the silver squeeze have started, you can see that they have withdrawn, okay, 38.9% of physical gold from the COMEX, and in silver they have withdrawn 25% from the total. But what is interesting is that for silver, 76.1% of the registered silver for delivery, has been taken out. So right now, end of the day, there are 35 million ounces of silver left in the registered category. And what is interesting is that one specific bank with only 2 days left, that was last week, for the expiry of the futures contract, which is today, they are short by 17 million ounces of silver. So that's why you can see that today they try to manipulate the silver price by selling the futures, so that how the bullion banks action is that they would short sell the silver to take out the longs, so that they can actually cover their shorts at a much lower price. So this has been rinse and repeat through the last 4 decades or so. So right now, one particular bank is about 17 million ounces short, and we'll see how it can cover its shorts with just 1 day remaining. Okay, if let's say they need to deliver a substantial amount, then we can see that it could potentially fall closer to 30 million ounces. So that is how that shortage of precious metals are at the COMEX. And at the LBMA, you can see that gold, okay, over here is also trending down rather steeply over here. And then silver is even more steep. So precious metals continue to be drained from the LBMA. Silver has fallen from its peak of 312 K ounces in August 2021 to 299. Sorry, this is not K, it's supposed to be gold. Okay, so to 299K, representing a 4.2% decline in stock. Now, silver has fallen 27.8% decline in stock. So even the LBMA has shortage of metals. So when you look at it, the LBMA includes the holding of the central banks, the holding of the ETFs, and those private officers. Private officers are those rich families that actually hold their physical gold in the vaults of the LBMA. So Alistair McLeod actually came up with a figure that the LBMA actually have shortage close to 8,000 tons of gold, because a lot of the gold are actually owned by other people, but it's still delivering other people's gold. So that's how we hypothecated the gold market has become. Okay, now then let's look at the global geopolitics. US and EU fear the war will drag on, pushing the limits of their combined resources, and are pressuring Zelensky to the negotiating table. But don't be surprised if Zelensky days are numbered. So at some point in time, they might remove Zelensky out of the equation, because US and EU have been drained of a lot of resources, whether military-wise or financial-wise. So Russia continues to train its reservists, which now number 200K, while Ukraine soldiers are being decimated in the front lines. Many geostrategists are anticipating Russia to initiate a winter campaign to start in either December or January. The WHO warns of life-threatening winter in Ukraine, as the country is expected to experience power cuts until March 2023. EU is worried this could spark a refugee crisis as millions of Ukraine heads towards the west. Okay, all eyes will be on the Taiwanese election. So the KMT party won most of the regional votes. This could help ease cross-strait tension, but the election of the president will happen only in 2024. So some tension could persist. So these are what is happening over there. Now, as Evelyn has pointed, there's new alliance being built, and this is how the expansion of BRICS is unfolding. So more countries seek to join BRICS. Central banks from Central Asia and Turkey continue to add gold to their reserve. Okay, central banks bought almost 400 tons of gold in Q3. China rumored to be the biggest buyer. Remember, I mentioned just now that China has actually sold off have sold off a substantial amount of its US treasuries. So some believe that China is actually buying the gold, buying Russia gold, in fact, because Russia central bank is buying from its miners, but they still have excess gold. So China is also helping Russia by buying the gold from the miners. And most important thing to happen in November was that the BIS has fully exited its gold swaps. So the BIS used gold derivatives instruments to actually control the gold price as well. But right now it has exited fully all these derivatives. So this signals that a lot of people are anticipating that at some point in time, as the balance sheet of the ECB, the BOJ, all the major central banks, okay, their balance sheet, most of their balance sheet are near negative or already reached negative equity, because they bought so much bonds, but then the value of the bonds have dropped. So the only other asset that the central banks have that has not gone negative is actually their gold reserves. So if they need to come up with a clean state, some economists are predicting that they will actually have to revalue gold at a much higher price. And by the BIS being fully exited out of its gold swaps, that means that this could be an indication that there could be a revaluation of gold in the future to boost the reserves of all the central banks. And the other thing is that Ghana announced that they will buy oil using gold. because they see that the strong US dollar is causing inflation in Ghana. And Ghana is one of the major producers in gold. So they say, no way, okay? We don't want to use US dollar to buy oil. We want to use gold. And the only way that, other countries would allow Ghana to buy gold would be Russia, because Russia have already stated they are open to all sorts of transactions, okay, including cryptocurrency, gold, or rubles, okay? But Ghana cannot insist on its own local currency because it's not strong. So that's why Russia would want to, when you buy through gold, then, there's no central bank's involvement, okay? So that's why Ghana has decided to do so. But, like a lot of countries, when they say they want to buy oil not using the US dollar, there's going to be some regime change. So let's see how it develops. Okay, Evelyn, back to you.
Okay, let me share my slides again. Okay, let me share. Okay, so let's go to, can you see my slides now?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, here I would like to say that everything does not look as bad as it is, because actually from all these recessions comes an opportunity, and both PC and I has done a lot of research on how to help our audiences to gain, better grounds in 2023. Although it's predicted to have economics meltdown, we have written a book that focuses on the global trends and astrology. The 4 sites that inside the books, we have 4 sites that will enable you to make better decision, where we break down all the 5 elements, which equivalent to all the economic sectors that will have an opportunity. Not only opportunity for 1 year, but for at least a few years to come, that which are the potential sectors that have key opportunities, and what will the 2023 brings you as well. And it's inside the book itself, you will find a lot of information, and it will also guide you through your investment. If you have cash ready, it's the best year to do, to have a shopping list on what you want to invest in. There will be a lot of assets that will be on sales next year, but I'm sure you will need guidance. So this is the book that we have written, which has all those information inside. I will give you the link. If you're interested, you can take a look at the book and get this book from an ebook platform. And we are also having so many months of presenting all this information. We hope also to gain membership and support from you all if you are benefited from this session. And we will make it very affordable. At least you will have a very first-hand information that will also help you in the investment, where you will get a monthly content 2 weeks ahead of what we will release in the YouTube. That means you will have very early information, and also you will have a free 2023 forecast Zoom session, and you will get the contents 2 months ahead. And this is open to the member only, the live talk itself, and the content will be recorded. However, it will not be available in the YouTube until it's 2 or 3 months later, and a private Telegram group for posting. And also you will get the PDF file for this monthly presentation as a member. Okay, that means it's open for membership. And the membership enrollment is that the membership itself will cost 129, and the ebook actually, if you translate to Malaysian ringgit, is 39 ringgit. And what happens is that we will offset this ebook. If you buy the ebook, you can join the membership at 90 ringgit for the whole year. That's 12 months. Means that per month is only less than 10 ringgit. It's even less than a cup of Starbucks coffee. Okay, and with this, you can already get guidance from PC and myself. I'm sure for those that have joined our webinar for a few months knows that we are giving value, we are giving true information, and we also have double check our information from the previous month. That means we are not talking in the air. We substantiate with the evidence that is happening. Okay, so this is the link for you. You can scan here for the membership. And also here, if you just want to get the ebook, you can get the ebook first and then you can get the membership. I will show you the instruction. That means if you want to get the membership for free, you have to buy the ebook from the ebook site. The ebook is also actually, if you have Apple's account, is also available in Apple Book. You can search the title itself and you screenshot the receipts. After that, you go to this form, upload the receipts, and you can enroll into the membership at 90 ringgit per year. So this is the form itself. Let me just drop it in the chat box here.
Yeah, I think one thing both of us, we want to start the membership is to continue to sustain the channel while offering value for money products, okay, or service to the members. And of course, one of the key things is that you get a heads up first, okay, before it's being released on the YouTube channel. Okay, so hope that you all will just have a look and see how it will benefit you. If you want to go back into history, you can see our previous channels to see how accurate we have been and how it has how the global trends have evolved. So consistently, we will continue to update you with monthly global trends, economic, geopolitical, as well as financial, so that you at least have a heads up of what is transpiring in the world. And some of this info, you know, like not many of you who are working would have the time. So you know, we just compile and compress it for you within the 1 hour plus, so that you can have as rich an information base as possible. You know, sometimes for me myself, I have to listen, you know, to YouTube channels like, you know, 10 to 15 channels a day. Okay, then pick up what is important and what is less important. But
what
if
is
let's
accurate,
say, yeah. And also, if let's say if you have a Telegram channel, then I can actually readily share those channels as well, so that you have you know, the moment I realized that is an important channel, that's an important video, I'll just share it in the Telegram group.
Okay, so we hope to get the support, and also because when we go through those information, some information that the cost of it will go into, you know, the subscription of some information that we get as well. All this information actually not for free. They are some of these we have gotten it, you know, through subscription as well, all this information. So this is the reason why we want to have a membership to sustain the cost of webinar, to bring you the most accurate information. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel here. And we have interesting content like PC1. He has all the past talk uploaded in his channel. I also have a playlist that compile with all this, because my channel also has a lot of astrology, Chinese astrology content. I even predicted very accurately who wins the general election that this year, because Anwar is between Anwar and Ismail Sabri. So at least it is already a very good prediction, and Muhyiddin and Mahathir already predicted that they are out, which is very true also. That's how powerful astrology is, that to give you an eye to the future. If you have an eye to the future, don't you think you will gain grounds and you will, you know, be above anybody else? Then recently, I just uploaded a video of animal sign, which everyone likes. And also the next video will be on, you know, how to get accurate 12 animal sign forecast, because some of these forecasts are not very accurate. I even shows that to you all. So do subscribe to our channel as well.
Yeah, Evelyn, Ivan has a question. If let's say he goes for the membership direct, can he get the ebook together? So maybe does the form works in that manner, or have to get ebook first?
Have to get ebook first, because the ebook is in Lulu's platform, in a publication platform. So it's actually very simple. You just go to the click to buy the ebook first. Then after that, you capture the screen of what you have purchased, and then you go to the form and enroll.
Yeah, maybe you can just explain again, because KK was asking how do he get the membership?
This is actually the form to the membership. I will show you the form later on. I will click and show you the form. And then this is actually the form. This one here is the ebook. So what you need to do is buy the ebook first, and then goes to this site. Let me just show you the site first. Okay, can see this. So once you click to the form, you will have the form here. You fill in your details, email address, name, contact number, and then the payment for the membership itself. And you go to the book platform to buy the book, and you upload the receipts, and then you just click on here. Sorry, it's only open for 1 year membership here. So you just actually there's only one option. You click here, automatically it was paid through PayPal, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure whether you have PayPal or not. So this is what happened, the normal checkout process. Okay, so buy the ebook first, capture the receipt, save it, and then you can upload it to this form here, here at the file of purchase. Okay. So and then okay, this is the instruction that we have given just now. Okay. The membership form, actually we have already offset itself the purchase of the book. Is automatically will be 90 ringgit only. Okay, so I think, is that clear enough? Yeah, okay, thanks. We are interested to know also your birth chart related to financial investment method, because from our birth chart also we can see that which element is aligned to our energy, internal energy, and you can put more of your investment into that bucket. I also agree with every investment guru that we have to diversify our investment. But how do we diversify? Is also very much based on our own life energy. Like for example, some people they have a lot of certain elements related to Earth in their birth chart. So these type of people they will invest more. It's better that they will invest more into property. So it will be much better. It's a proven strategy already. They gain value in double or triple one. Okay, so this is the power of knowing your birth chart and knowing the future, and you will be able to pivot and grow your net worth accordingly. So, but one disclaimer: everything that we say here is as accurate as possible per the present, but it might not represent 100% accuracy in the future, because nobody can guarantee that. Maybe the accuracy is until about 80%. Okay, this is what we can tell you. And then also, let's go through the summary here. As stated, I think it will be a month of surprise in December. There could be natural disasters or weather-related crises. So demonstration can turn violence, and there will be a drastic changes from the way that PC has already forecasted. According to his research, there will be drastic financial system changes. And also one tip I can give you here, since you stay until the end. This is just a tip. Use it at your own discretion, please. Okay. So just from the chart reading itself of next year's chart, a lot of people tells me that will the stock market go up again, or will they able to sustain the growth next year, and all you will have a lot of money issues and everything next year. That is what the next year's chart is. It's also in the book that have the information on next year's chart, but this one today what I've given you is for those audience that has this
Yeah, so just for summary, there's going to be ongoing housing crisis, but I think a lot of the investors in the US market is still basing it on hopium. Okay, they still think that it will still go up a little bit more. So that's why you see little bit of sentence that the Fed says, can immediately shoot up or come down. So because it's all based on sentiment, not based on hard facts, which is actually showing a slowing economy. So Europe, rising inflation with growth slowing down more drastically, I think is going to be a prolonged stagflation. In fact, one of the better known trend forecaster, Gerard Salente, if you can tolerate his abusive language, he curse a lot when he talk. Okay. He actually saying that it's going to be a dragflation, which means this stagflation is going to last very, very long. And then, of course, we see in the Western Hemisphere, there's rapid deindustrialization, and it's also going to the east. Okay, so that ties in very well with what Evelyn has spoken last time about the period 9, about the East is going to benefit because the period 9 is very positive for the East. And right now you see that the Europe is, the industrialization is ongoing, is moving to the East. Now, China economic activities remain tepid due to the COVID-19 surge. So China is in a position where, sometimes I think is this dynamism in the policy is doing harm to the economy more than instilling confidence, because when it's 1 year, people can have that confidence. When it keeps on going, then that confidence will continue to drop. But I think that because of the industrialization moving towards the east, so China will actually benefit in certain sectors. And in fact, in the book, we talk a lot about the future of the semiconductor industry. So precious metal shortage in COMEX and LBMA will continue. Okay, and I think the biggest thing that perks everybody up is that the BIS have totally, removed all its gold swaps, and that is a strong sense that there will be some evaluation further down the road. Okay, to be considered. So winter campaign in Ukraine will cause massive refugee flow into Western Europe. More countries will seek to join BRICS, and gold is stamping its mark. Because previous session, we already said that Saudi Arabia already building its own gold refinery. Nigeria is going to have started its gold exchange. India also started its own gold exchange. So there, among the BRICS nations, they are starting their own gold exchange, including Indonesia, so that they have a better say of the value versus the derivative in the COMEX, as well as the OTC counter in the LBMA, which are actually, rehypothecating the physical gold. Okay, all with the aim of suppressing the price of gold and silver. And of course, US launches its CBDC trial, and Japan will launch theirs. Okay, but how we talk a lot about CBDCs also in the book, so maybe you can actually check it out. So that's all we have. Evelyn, anything else from you? And for those who stayed till now, thank you very much. We hope to see you again in future sessions. Evelyn?
Yeah, okay. I think that's about it from my side as well. And we really hope to get the support from all of you here. Thank you very much. And thank you for supporting all the talks, attending all the talks, especially the regulars like Ivan. We always see him here. Very thanks.
Juki too. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
Juki. Okay. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. So please remember to like, subscribe, and share our video if you find it informative. So that's all we have. Thank you everyone for attending, and have a very nice day. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.